Hello, and welcome to what should hopefully be as brief as I can, description of how to register on the MyMilitaryConnection.com website so that you can get access to the search functionality held within our database and get to setting yourself up so that you can find and be found within the site itself. So right now, this is our main site, and our registration currently is restricted to our early adopters and test users. Um, However, that should not stay that way for much longer. Uh, this is the registration page that we're currently using. Before you go to create your account, I would suggest that you have as much of your sponsors' information as you possibly can, so that when it comes time to add their sponsor record, edit their duty locations and stuff like that, you've got it on hand. Service dates, while important, don't have to be exact. Neither do duty location dates, as long as you can pinpoint kind of the year and the month for duty locations, that'll work. Long TDYs and 1 year unaccompanied tours, short tours, stuff like that, you'll be able to denote those as unaccompanied tours. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Right now, we're going to go ahead and create an account. So we have mocked up the John Michael Carter. John Michael Carter family. This is the first generation, and that'll become important when I get down to the bottom of the page. I'll explain when we get to the roles. Since we're early on in this, and there's not that many users yet, you pretty much have your choice of a username. Your email is going to be the email that you want to be contacted by the system, and if you opt into it at a later date, when somebody finds you in the system or you find somebody, you will have the option of having the system email you directly when they try and contact you, or you will have the option of sending your email to somebody when you try and contact them. Our messaging system is designed to be limited in scope. We would prefer that when people contact each other, that the initial contact's made within the site, and then you can carry on your contact, outside, and not have to depend on us in order to continue, with your friendship or your reconnection to somebody from your past. Right now, I'm just going to use our wits-llc.com info account. And we're going to go to the password. Let's see. We have been testing a lot of folks. So passwords do match. He is, he's a male. Now, a quick note, because I know that we have to try and be as sensitive as we can around gender roles these days. But due to the nature of the way the military not tracks, but registers people, and the way that if we tried to do what people use to self-identify, that may not work, simply because if we're talking somebody 30 years ago to even 3 years ago, that could change in between. So unfortunately, we can't be as PC minded as we'd like. But this is just the way the data flows. There's just, if we tried to incorporate every option that people use out there in the world today, it would not be searchable, is what it boils down to. And that's the heart of this, is being able to search and find somebody. We're working on it, and if we can get to that point where we can incorporate it, we will. But at this point, we just have to go back to unfortunately, we just have to stick with the male gender, male, female. We do have the other field here, and prefer not to say. It's not as important to get this right, but there was just no way we could capture every identification that everybody uses today. All right, so gender and then ethnicity would be is it Caucasian? Yes, Caucasian. And then date of birth is going to be Looks like he was born in March of 1946, and then role is where I needed to just explain this a little bit. So John Carter in this case is a first generation military member. So he is going to be set as the sponsor. His family, his spouse, looks like he's got a lovely wife named Mary Elizabeth with a maiden name would have been Daniels. But it looks as if they were married before, so she will be Mary Elizabeth Carter throughout the database. And then they have 4 children, David, Michael, Susan, and Brian. So all of those would register as a dependent and adopt John as their sponsor. However, David Carter went on to become a military member himself in 1990. In that case, because he was a dependent and a sponsor, he would select the role of both. And that becomes important because he's going to have multiple records in the database, and he's going to be searchable across a broader spectrum, because instead of just showing up in the dependent search under John, he's also going to be showing up as his own record under the sponsor search. And his dependents will tie to him as a sponsor as well, just like his brothers and his mother will tie to John as a dependent. So in this particular case, and we'll get to that later when we actually get to creating David's account, but I wanted to make sure that everybody understands it's important to know what your role in the database is to start with. Okay, in this case, or not even your role, but the role of the person that you're being tied to, or those that are tying to you. So in this case, we've got John Michael Carter. His email's done, passwords match, username's available. All this looks good. We hit continue. And terms and conditions, pretty standard. Just, what you can, what you can't do, and what you're not supposed to do, how we're handling your information, contact information, and by clicking agree. We've got the lovely I'm not a robot. Sometimes it gives me the find the bicycle, sometimes it don't. Not this time. Alright, here we go. So click I agree, and you should get a verification message, and we did, which means if you go check your email shortly thereafter, you do have the option, if you don't get an email for whatever reason, you can resend an email. But until you actually get that verified, there's not a lot you can do in here. Let me cover that real quick, and then we'll get into, I do have the email, I'll get it verified. As you can see, the links that you would use to edit the sponsor's information, even add them, are grayed out. When you get to viewing dependents, a little bit of a blurb right there. I'll fix that later. When you get to, that should be over here. When you get to view by duty location, all of this is grayed out for the dependents as well. And then the searches are grayed out. Until you're actually tied to a sponsor in the system, which is the heart of kind of what we do. The only thing that you'll really be able to get to is the My Account page. I'll go over this briefly. This gives you your full name, the email that you signed up with, your secondary email, which you can set down here in account maintenance, username, sponsor, and it shows your account status is unverified, which you can also see up here at the top. It's unverified. Your user ID is 66, which matches what we've got up here. Sponsor role, sponsor role. These over here just show you how many current sponsors we have in the database. Thank you to the folks that are signing up, and how many dependents are currently in the database. Looks like we're averaging about 2 in a piece. Underneath demographics, this will be expanded. We're looking at what we want to house in here. We just haven't quite decided on that yet. And account maintenance, there have been a few times where people have fat fingered in a sponsor and or a dependent, so and they've accidentally, when they were presented with multiple sponsors that might be the one that they want. They chose the wrong one. They weren't paying attention to the sponsor details the way they should have. So we will have a way for you to unlink to a sponsor if you chose the wrong one. And that's not going to happen here because we'll be adding a sponsor. But you can also update a secondary email so that if for whatever reason you lose track of the first one, the secondary email will allow you to still get access to the forgotten password or change password section of the database. So now, if we go back to main, this is what you're going to get. Oh, and real quick note, looks like we've got an older version of the side menu here. Once again, we had issues with our hosting service. They messed up our versioning, but yeah, it still works. This was put in there for the mobile folks. So resend verification email. I've got that verification email. Let me go to that and click, and email has been verified. So if I go over here now and hit reload, there we go. Still, at this point, now you're able to start looking at the different things that you can do within the system itself. You've got access once you're verified. If you don't have access once you're verified, then that's a problem. Contact us, let us know. But main thing required, we need to go add a sponsor. And since we're working on John himself, we'll be adding John in. Now, I'm going to go over this in depth here in just a little bit. This is important. So we'll get to that here in just a second. So we've got John Michael Carter. He is living. He is male. He is Caucasian. He was enlisted. And his date of birth is March of 1946. Alright, his branch was Army or Air Force? Air Force. His service type was active duty. His service start date looks like it was February, was that right? 1964, and he got out in August of 1988. Okay. Now, that's the record that we have set up for this individual. But I wanted to make a note about what this add another service record is for. And we talk about it in this section here. It's all about capturing the whole service record for an individual. So let's say, for example, John Carter joined the Air Force in 1964 as an enlisted person. We've got that set here. But let's say instead of 1988, he got out in 1972. Now, he got out of the Air Force in 1972, but he became an officer in the Army in 1972. So we'll go, let's go 1972, and then he got out. This is where we go back to his original August of 1988. 1988. Okay, but now you're asking, okay, so wait a minute. He was an officer. How do we track that? If you come back up here to rank type, we've chosen these rank paths to help separate that out, because if you're looking for John Carter, who was a captain in the Army in 1979, you're not going to find him off of an Air Force service record. The branch, when you go searching for him, that branch is going to give you a problem. Not only that, but he was enlisted when he was in the Air Force. So the important part is, if you know that he was Air Force, you know that he was Army, this is where knowing your sponsor's service record is important. It doesn't have to be the exact dates, but it should be as close as possible as you can. All right. So in this case, excuse me, since he went from being a enlisted person to an officer, you would want to select enlisted and officer. And if you'll notice, you've now got 2 more boxes per service record that you could select. For the Air Force, you would come in and select enlisted. Because enlisted officer is the only choice that he had, that populates both of these drop downs. If he was a warrant to an officer, then you would have warrant and officer as a selection. In this case, enlisted and officer. So you would select enlisted, you would select officer, and now he would have 2 separate service records, and that's important because under the Air Force service record, he would be adding Air Force duty locations. His dependents would show up under searches at those duty locations, and the schools that are tied to those duty locations when it comes to searching for dependents by schools. For the Army side, same deal. He would be tied to Army locations. He would be tied to his dependents would be tied to schools that were co-located with those Army locations. So it's important that you know, as best you can, his service dates if there was some type of change in his status. It could have been Air Force active duty to Army Reserve or Army National Guard. So it's important that you have that change in there if you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, that's fine. You can try and build a record, but know as much detail about the service period and service time in service that your sponsor had. Now, John doesn't have that in the way that we've got this mocked up, so we're going to uncheck that record. We're going to go back and change his service end date to 1988. All right, and we're going to change this back to enlisted, which gets rid of that field. And if we look down here, he's been cleared out. So now we should be able to come down here and hit submit sponsor, and everything should be good to go. So submit sponsor, and there we go. So now you have a sponsor in the system. Once you've added a sponsor, it automatically drops you back out here to the view sponsors page. You can see that at the moment he has no dependents linked, but it's got his date of birth, his branch of service, service type, enlisted, living, and the service dates for the times he was in. For those of you that needed a little help getting your sponsors added in and your registration done, I hope this video helped. And we will have more videos that will go through the edit sponsor section so that you can make any corrections that you need. Well, and thanks again. Have a great day.